Welcome to the Utah PTA Pulse podcast. My name is Corey Fairholm. I am the immediate past president of Utah PTA and the host. And Angelee.
Hi, I'm Angelee Aedo, the VP of Advocacy. I have a new title, it's confusing, and I'm the co-host of the show, and we have another special guest today.
Sherry Mattle, go ahead.
Sherry Mattle. I have been involved in PTA for many years, but currently I am the Trust Lands Chair. So I'm the one that, I guess I'm a liaison with outside groups and watch over trust lands. The trust lands in Utah.
Which is huge.
I'm really excited to talk about the trust lands today, but before we do that...
Angelee has an icebreaker question for you.
Oh, okay. Shoot. Okay.
You said you would answer any question we had, right?
Yeah, it might not be what
It
you
won't
want.
be hard though.
Okay, what is your favorite Halloween tradition?
Halloween tradition.
I got one.
Okay, go.
So my husband's birthday is on Halloween.
It is?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's a special day.
He didn't tell me when we first got married that his family did something very specific on his birthday every year, and he didn't tell me, and so we just went to Outback for his birthday, our first year married, and he was so disappointed. And then I found out it was because he had this special tradition, and now we do it with our family. So we always do a fun Halloween dinner. So we have green spaghetti, we have eyeball meatballs. We've done wings and colored them black, so they were bat wings.
Oh, that's cool.
We do bone breadsticks, a brain, a cauliflower brain. We've done a little skeleton, chest in the middle, and you put little smokies next to it. I don't know, we've done lots of fun things.
Boy, you're creative.
Well, my mother-in-law takes care of most of it, so that's nice. But
That's even better.
But yeah, I just remember he was so disappointed. Well, one, our food was gross at Olive Garden or at Outback, but he was like, I just wanted to do this special thing, and I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me? But I mean, we'd only been married a couple months, so you know.
Well, that's good too. Yeah.
I have a niece whose birthday's on Halloween. She always got her picture taken every year in her costume. Went to a
the formal
studio and had them taken. So that was always fun. I used to do things like special food and have bat wings and make when I was a kid, my mom always made donuts. But that's always too much. When my kids were little, I was always busy doing Halloween parties.
Oh yeah, I had the school and stuff.
At the school, and so we did that. We usually stay home, so we're not one of the houses that just turns out the lights and doesn't, or puts the candy out on the porch. We are usually there and try to see all the. And this year,
that's my favorite part.
Oh, I love
And
this year we bought
trick-or-treaters.
full-size candy bars.
Oh,
so we're going to see if word gets out.
Man, I'm coming to your house.
I know, seriously.
That's
We have
awesome.
backup if we run out. So we only have, but we don't always. It varies on how many kids.
How many kids? Do you
Well,
usually
when
get?
I first got married, and we lived in the same house, but we were the only neighborhood for around, so people would drop their kids off. So literally we'd go through 10, 12 bags of candy.
Oh yeah.
But these days, I mean, it kind of has picked up the last few years, but there were times when we maybe got 10 trick-or-treaters or
Really?
something.
Man.
That's crazy.
We are always at 300. I'm not kidding. Kids come and we have groups of 10 to 12. Mm-hmm. And we go through so much candy. Bags and bags. I've even had to send my kids to the store. Go get some more candy.
I have done that before.
Yeah.
Where
So
you're
I've done that because they just, oh my gosh. But
We've
that's
never
my
done
favorite part of Halloween is the trick-or-treating and
I'm
having
I can think of other people. We have neighbors. See, we have things because we have neighbors that always do a spook alley. So you have to go to their spook alley, but that's not our. Our tradition is going to the spook alley, not having them they have. They do a fancy spook alley every year, and it's different. So
That's awesome.
Fun.
Well, Halloween's coming up, 10 days away.
I know.
Can you believe it? Anyways, you might be hearing this after Halloween, so anyways.
That's okay.
So tell us about trust lands. Why is it so important for our children in the schools?
Okay, well, first of all, I kind of want to go back history. Trust
go for
lands.
it.
Okay, before Utah was even a state, in 1894, the U.S. Congress passed the Utah Enabling Act, which was before they were a state, but it granted so many acres. I don't know if you've seen the maps. I should have brought the map in from the other room that shows the checkerboard. They divided all the lands that were owned by the state, not by the federal government, and they dedicated those to trust lands, and that was the Enabling Act. And actually, only for school trust lands. So the only one trust that was created at the Enabling Act was for the school trust lands. But then when Utah became a state, they had other institutions that became trust lands. All the universities, all other things. There's a trust that's for public buildings, but that's pretty much, it's not defunct, but it's liquidated. So like they don't get any of them trust lands money every year. But I found this out. I don't know if you were going to ask me this. There are 11 trusts, but only 10 get the money. And 2 of the trusts are School of the Deaf, School of the Blind, but in Utah now they're combined. And so that's kind of a different one. And then
So they're the beneficiaries of the trust.
They're the beneficiaries.
Okay.
But the largest, by far the largest beneficiaries, like 96% of it, are the school children of Utah.
Okay.
And so that's what their trust is.
So you said that it got started before Utah became a state, and then so do other states have trust lands?
Yes. Every state that became a state after Ohio had trust lands.
Okay.
They don't always have, and they haven't always managed them. I mean, Utah's, well, my opinion is kind of middle of the pack on, like they didn't do well for the first 100 till 1994. So
And what changed in 1994?
They passed. SITLA became created, and that was Utah was really instrumental in that. But SITLA was formed by, and I probably should have looked up that and found whatever bill it was because I have that on my stuff.
Okay.
But it was a bill, and Mel Brown was the sponsor, and at that time he was not Speaker of the House, but he became Speaker of the House shortly after that. He was very instrumental, and one of the other things, there's 2 important women I want to highlight. Well, probably 3. But the 2, first one was a woman named Sandra Skousen from Monticello. And she actually grew up in Idaho, and because of her father, grandfather, something, she kind of knew, like she went down because they grazed on trust lands in Idaho.
Okay.
And she knew that there was something about trust lands. And so she kind of got the idea of how they worked. Then fast forward several years, and she's living in Monticello, Utah, and she actually was a local PTA president, and I think she was actually a region director at one time as well. But she, 1989, she brought this resolution. I don't know how much your listeners know about resolutions, but you know about resolutions because you are the advocacy VP. So she brought, as a local unit, she brought a resolution forward on trust lands, and it was called School Land Use Amendments, or Land Use Resolution is what it was called. And it actually didn't get ratified by the Utah PTA until their 1990 convention. Okay. But she brought it forward in 1989. And that just all works for timing because there's only 2 meetings a year, blah, blah, blah. So they did this whole thing about trust lands we need to be worrying about trust lands. So because of that, they came, and kind of before that, a woman named Margaret Bird, which you have all met her, but everybody hasn't met her. But she's a powerful little tiny dynamo. But she didn't. She actually had worked for the University of Utah and Utah State. She got involved in researching trust lands because they used to just have them on these big maps, like in some back room, and there's like Post-it notes stuck to them and all this. But she kind of knew all the ins and outs of like every little parcel of trust lands, and so she became a real advocate, and she totally is a great advocate for trust lands. So she made it aware, and I mean, because like every university is one of the trusts of the trust. They each have a trust. So each of the public universities or colleges, whatever. I think they're all about universities now. I don't know. Anyway, so she knew that they weren't managing them correctly and that things were going wrong. And so they passed this, I want to call it the SITLA Act, but I don't know exactly what it was called, but it created the SITLA office, which stands for School and Institutional School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration.
So they oversee the trust.
They oversee the trust, and they are supposed to be held accountable to the beneficiaries and and it's their fiduciary duty, there's all these words, that they always do what's best for the trust.
Okay.
Okay, so that became, that law passed in 1994, and so after that, SITLA got running, and in 1994, in the school, so the money that they earn on trust lands goes into a fund called the Permanent School Fund, and at that time, the Permanent School Fund was worth $50 million. But as of January sometime, actually it was probably as of the end of June, because I think that's when the fiscal year ends, but they announced it in September that now the fund for all that has grown to over $4 billion, right around $4 billion.
That's amazing.
And the portion that's just for the school children of Utah, the K-12 school children of Utah, is over $3.7 billion. So in how many years has that been? Is that 40 years yet? No, 30 years.
30 years, yeah.
It's grown that much. So all the little pieces.
And that's with them giving out money.
Well, they
right?
give out money every year, but they only give a portion of what the interest is. And I want to tell you, and this year it got dispersed, $110 million for the 25-26, $110 million got dispersed between all the school kids in Utah. And I had that number somewhere. I can tell you how much money and how many schools I put.
So how do the trust lands work? How do the lands raise money, or where does the money?
Okay, so the trust lands, there's the land management part itself, and so they lease land for grazing. They have they lease out the mineral rights. They actually have a big development that they've sold off to a developer in St. George, or I think they still own it, but somehow they're in collaboration with the developer. Sometimes they just sell it and they take the profits from the lands and put that in. And that's what a lot, like Nevada has pretty much sold off all their trust lands. Anyway, so that fund grows, but in addition to that, in 2014, they passed the SITFO Act, which is School Trust Funds.
Financial office or something?
No, it's Trust SITFO. School and Institutional Trust Fund Office. That's what. Okay. The F is fund. I know that because I had it wrong in something and I was corrected. Anyway, so it's the Trust Fund Office, and they are, they make money. They are very.
They invest.
They
I've
invest,
been to one of their meetings. And they make a lot of money on it, and that's really. And I wish I could have shared. I haven't got the minutes yet. I was just in a meeting yesterday, and SITFO presented in the meeting, and I was like, I wish I had all these. But what I thought, and when I read it, it came out in the paper, so I called this morning and found out information. So the 110 million, they take the average of the last 20 quarters of the earnings, and they can distribute 4% of that. But if you remember back in, was it 2024, they had Amendment D. Yes.
That passed, which is now they can distribute 5%. So everybody thinks, we got a big bump because it went to 5%. No, that doesn't take effect till next year. But everybody got a big bump this year just because SITLA has done a good job, SITFO has done a good job. And then the third part of kind of the watchdog organization of trust lands is in 2008 there was a advocacy. Now, see, I don't remember the whole. I call it the advocacy office. So it's a separate office that kind of watches SITLA and SITFO and make sure everybody's holding being responsible and being true to the beneficiaries instead of, because there are some laws that have been passed that don't necessarily benefit, and there may be some lawsuits that will come forward because of that. But I mean, just in the recent past. But so that office watches out too, but they all do such a good job. I mean, I've been doing this since May, actually, and I'm just amazed at how much they all work. They don't really work together. They're separate because they don't collaborate, because they're kind of watching out. I mean,
for each other.
Well, what it is SITLA's doing their thing and trying to make the best, decisions for the land. and all the things on that. And SITLA is trying to do the best for the fund that is, and then the advocacy office kind of watchdogs everything and make sure it all. So they do sort of collaborate between, but it's not like they answer to anybody in any of those offices.
So since all those 3 offices have been set up in 1994,
Right.
then the fund has grown to over
Right.
$1 billion.
To over $4 billion.
$4 billion. That's amazing. And then that goes back to the school
And
children.
the hope for it, what it was supposed to do, if they'd done it all right from the beginning, that would have funded all of public education in Utah. New Mexico, from what I understand, I think New Mexico funds most of their public education or all of that through their trust lines. They've actually done a really good job.
It's amazing.
So where is it decided on how this money is spent? At the school level. Like,
Oh,
so the money comes in to the school.
And it's the state school board distributes it.
Okay.
Through each school has a school community council, and the members are elected, there have to be parents, teachers, and the principal. But there have to be more parents, and the chair has to be a parent.
Okay.
Of that committee. And seems silly that I would explain this to Corey because we've served on school community councils. I would encourage all PTA members or everybody, because even charter schools have to have a school community council.
So every school is required to have a school community council.
Well, I guess only if they want trust lands money.
Okay.
So every school has a school community council, and you get to decide how to spend that money. And actually, you can see how your school, if I had my computer here, I mean, I do have it, but you can go to SITLA. I think it's stuck. I don't know. Just do a Google search on SITLA, and you'll get to their office, and it'll say that it's SITLA.
So you can find out how much.
And you can go to I can't tell you exactly how, but I just did it today. Because I thought, how does my elementary school spend their money? And I had a kid in elementary school forever. So you go through, and all the LEAs are listed. So you have to go through, if you go to a public school, you go to your, you find your school district, and then within the school district, you find all the schools. And they tell you, and they have to do, so the primary thing they want you to spend money on is student growth. So, in like math, you have to do like math, reading, and science first. So you can't be spending your money on the school musical if you have poor
scores on math. And
there are rules of what they can spend it on.
Okay.
And they do have to have, I found this out yesterday, they have to have some sort of measurement that you're measuring that they're getting, that they're improving. They don't prescribe what measurement you have to use, but you have to have some sort of a measurement. And the school districts might help with that, because since they're overseeing many, because each school submits theirs to the school district, who then it gets submitted to the State Board of Education.
And they do that yearly?
Yes.
Okay. At the school community council?
Yes. In fact, almost all of the money the schools have received it for this year.
For this year?
For this year.
Okay.
For this school year. It's already gone out. There's a few, because like when they're new schools and they haven't already submitted things in the fall, then there's some time frame, like I think November 1st, they have to submit their paperwork and they get it. But it's, okay, I'm going off of a chart I saw yesterday, and I'm thinking it's less than like $50,000 left.
Really?
Right.
Okay. Left
that still needs to be distributed.
Okay.
So most of it's been distributed.
Right. So they've already got, because they did this whole plan last year.
Yeah, I think you sign off on the plan in March.
Right.
Usually.
Right. And so then they're ready to go, and as soon as school starts, they start. I think it gets distributed in September.
So it's really important as a parent in that school. I need to make sure that there's a voice of parents.
Well, and I will tell you,
serve on that school community council.
I didn't realize, but I was on the school community council at Bingham High School, and we went, and I don't know that we'd even finished our plan, but it had to be later in the year. I remember going to parent-teacher conference, and my daughter had 38 kids in her math class, and I thought, how are you supposed to learn math? Like, I don't even think there was that many desks in the classroom. How are you supposed to do that? So I went to school community council, and I said, I think we have a problem. I mean, in those meetings, you're looking at the data and how the scores are, and they're always wanting growth and things like that. But I'm like, I think it's ridiculous that there's 38 kids in it. I think we need to spend our school community council money on math teachers and have more math teachers. And so we did that, and I don't want to say, see, now that sounds disheartening, because I think they might have got it down to 32 or 30, which sounds, I mean, it's really hard to lower class sizes. But the other things we did is they had a math lab, we called it a math lab, and they funded to have teachers either come in early or stay late, depended on, they had a schedule. But like every day of the week, the kids could come in early or stay late and get help with their math homework if they didn't understand. And actually, how they formed it at the school, and I don't know if school community council had anything to do this, but if kids went to so many hours and like they'd missed math credits from in the past or something, if they did so many hours in that math lab, like they sign in and they could get credit, like a quarter of a credit or something towards their math. Do that. And I think it improved the math scores. I mean, and other parents came and they wanted, I mean, other members of that community council, they're like, I think we need to do something about, what is that test people take? How come I can't think of it? The ACT test. And so that same school community council funded supplies and the teachers to teach an after school like review session or study session before the kids took the ACT in the spring. I mean, so it kind of started in January, February, and it went for 6 weeks or something. And so those are things we decided as a school community council. A lot of times they pay for reading aids or something to help. You have to have something that can be measured. But then they were just talking, and I know of 3 bills coming up in this session that have to do with changing kind of how school community council. Some of Representative Tracy Miller is running one to kind of clean up some language. They're always cleaning up language in bills, in parts of code. That has some things, and then there's a piece for it's actually in an attendance kind of chronic absenteeism bill that Senator Lincoln Fillmore is running. But there's a piece because if schools are up to like their scores are good or in their reading and writing and science, they can actually spend their trust lands money on absenteeism and trying to have interventions for that. I just had heard about that and I haven't had time to go back and watch. That came out in the interim meetings last week, the interim committee hearings. And I didn't go to that interim committee because I was in different ones. And so I wanted to see I don't know all the details. It just came up in the TLAC meeting, which is Advisory Council.
There's too many acronyms.
No, there are, and there's a lot.
Trust Lands Advisory Council is what it is. And that's a committee that's on the state, under the State Board of Education.
That advises, okay.
That advises. And they kind of, the offices at the State Board of Education make sure people, they're the ones that review every school's plan that they submit and make sure that it's, because you can only spend it on certain things and make sure everybody's in line and are doing what they say they'll do.
So Utah PTA's been, and one of our titles is the watchdogs for trust lands. Why is Utah PTA so involved? And what is our concern?
It started with that resolution that Sandra Skousen put forward and so PTA's been, and they were very instrumental in getting the legislation passed for SITLA in 1994. I actually started being on the Legislative Advocacy Committee for PTA, I want to say in 1997.
Okay.
And Paula Plant at that time was the Advocacy VP or whatever the title was exactly. And she was very instrumental in working that. And she has since transitioned over. She is one of the longtime employees. She works for the state school board and she oversees all the trust land stuff. And it used to be her. And before there was the advocacy office, they kind of depended on the state school board staff to watch over all the trusts, which it's like, that's kind of out of their oh, I'm watching over this for you. Don't worry, and which it should. So it is good to have this advocacy office that so they watch over all the trusts, not just the schools, but it is like 96% of all the trust is the school children's trust.
Well, and when we were talking to Margaret Bird this summer, she said the PTA is so important because we're like not funded by the government, you know.
Right.
We're like this separate entity that doesn't answer to the government, and so sometimes it's hard when we're so grateful that we do have these like different groups, but they're all like they kind of all answer.
Right, they kind of have to worry about.
They all kind of answer to the legislature, and
then Utah PTA doesn't.
Yeah, and we don't, and so like you can't like say something bad about the person who gives you money, you know,
Yeah.
like
Right.
you can't be like, hey, there's a problem here, you know.
But Utah PTA can make that aware. 'Cause
Yeah.
And do that. I mean, and they have, I will tell you that, like, it seems like there's at least a couple of trust lines built. And I think that there have been some that we've missed in the past. And so, because I already know about 3, and the session isn't even starting for like 3 months.
So it's good to be attending these meetings so you can know what they are.
And SITLA, actually, they have, I don't know how active because I've only looked at it a few times. They do post to social media, and they do post. In fact, I wanted to highlight this because I did a newsletter article. But SITLA has a contest, so each school can can submit, and if you win the contest, like how we spend our trust lands money. If they win the contest, then they can earn an extra $2,500 for their trust lands, and that might be the difference in being able to do something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of contest is it?
It's I think it's a video contest.
Okay.
It's a contest. If you go to, they have a banner that goes across. So if you Google SITLA, and then you go to the SITLA site, it'll say, because I can't even tell you, because I think it's sitla.gov, but I'm not sure if it's sitla.gov or SITLA or utah.sitla.gov or I'm not sure exactly what they're, and if I had my phone I could hurry and look it up.
Trust lands, not utah.gov.
Oh, that's what it is? Okay, there you go. Thank you.
$2,500 for your school. Enter our video contest.
See?
So it's a video contest. Okay, that's good to know.
And they can do that, and they want people to enter, and then they highlight, and they really do. I didn't realize till I started going to these SITLA meetings that they do campaigns, ad campaigns in rural Utah, because some people, they have a harder time getting people in rural Utah to be on board with trust lands, because they see it as, well, we've had this land forever, we've grazed it, why are they all of a sudden? And I have heard people for years even complain about that, like, well, we lease land from the federal government and from SITLA, and it's much harder. There's more things that the SITLA makes you go through to get their land. And I'm like, yahoo, thank you. I mean, thank you so much for being diligent and not letting people get something. And there's other things going on. I also want to highlight another group that's called ASTL, Advocates for School Trust Lands. .org, and that's a group. Margaret Burt's part of that group, and I'm actually on their board as well. But they help try to ensure that trust lands are taken care of in all the states that like join them. So since I've been part of it, they've gone to Montana and Oregon are the other states besides Utah that they're like. There's things with water rights in Montana, and there's things with I don't know, lumber, what's it called? The trees in Oregon. And that's actually a lawsuit that's been going on for a few years. They do advocate for lawsuits to be handled. And I mean, because you can't just sue a state because they pass a law. It's like something has to be done because of the law. Mm-hmm. And then when that happens, then they sue the state. And so there's something going on in Oregon about the I want to say timberlands, and I should, with trust lands and that, and I understood the one because I've heard more of the one of Montana. It's the water rights that go on with the trust lands, and people that own the land adjacent to the trust lands, and they've always had the water, but we've always used that water. Why aren't we getting it? And actually, not all the trust lands have been necessarily assigned either. I'm not sure I understand, so I probably should talk about all that stuff. I do understand some things, but
So
they
as a
do hire-
local PTA leader, if I'm in my community, what would I need to do to make sure? I mean this stuff.
Well, it used to
because people want that money, right?
they do want it, and it used to feel like every year somebody would run something, and trust lands can be over this. Trust lands can be over this. I mean, and
So
one of
they're
the
trying
things
to
that
take-
they want you to spend the money that they get for trust lands to cover something else.
So they're
That's-
trying to take the money away from the public education.
Well, not
student-
necessarily, but instead of funding what trust lands was intended, they fund other. I mean, one of the things that I know that we fought that it passed, and it's probably been okay, that was because the whole world has changed. I mean, I want to say 9 years ago, they passed a law that school community councils were over digital wellness in the schools.
I remember that.
And my opinion on that was they wanted them to be over because then they could spend trust lands money on it and they wouldn't have to spend school money on it, you know.
Okay.
They could, but that has changed because the internet is even more integral to education than it was then, and I think a lot of school districts have taken that over and they don't really have
Need
to
to do
worry
it that
about
way.
it. And so I think that's part of the amendments that are going to be gone. But there's always, it seems like, I wish I could remember more things off the top of my head, because I remember years ago and it's like they're wanting trust lands to do this, because they're wanting that trust money because they see a big pot of money.
Yeah.
And it's supposed
So
to.
then as a local leader and as a parent, I need to be aware of that.
Yes.
And to-
you
and-
need
and then
and it used to be when the SITLA board was created and whatever, in school community councils, they used to require that the PTA president serve on the school community council. Then it came through because not every school has a PTA, unfortunately, but they should all have a parent group. I don't know if every school even has a parent group though. And so, but you should be involved in this. And one thing that I came across today that was suggested is that maybe have like the school community council report to the PTA.
And vice versa. I think.
Right.
I think both.
What
totally.
PTA
So
is
that
doing.
they can work
I
together.
remember being frustrated in my elementary school when I was on chair of the elementary school community council, and we had a member that's like, well, can't PTA, because we didn't have enough trust lands money to pay for it. Well, can't PTA? They have all sorts of money. Can't they pay for this? And I'm like, we don't get to say what PTA spends their money on. You can join the PTA, and then you can suggest that they spend the money. But as a school community council, we don't get to ask them. We don't get to tell them, because they do fundraisers for the money that they get. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And I know, depending on the school, some schools have big budgets and some school PTAs don't. And so there's lots of things. I mean, but PTA has their bylaws that they have to follow. School community council has their rules that they have to follow. But there's no reason why you can't collaborate.
Yeah, totally.
But it's nice to know what the other ones are doing. I mean, what the other group, because you both care about what's happening in your school.
Well, and usually the school community council, their goals they're often academic. Let's increase.
Well, because they have to.
Yeah, because let's increase our reading scores by 3 points or something like that, or whatever it might be. And I think it's really great when a PTA can also try to help with those goals.
And,
so it's
and I think the beauty of PTA is
They're working in partnership.
Yeah.
when they work in PTA, and it can make. There's a lot of the things that kids go to school. Now I wish I could remember how that she said. There was a woman that one of the members of the committee meeting that I was in yesterday, and she's like, let's face it, kids go to school. She's like, okay, when I was in school I did diving and something else, but you had to have a certain GPA. She said, so you went to class and you got the grades, not just because you wanted to go to class and get good grades. You went to class because you wanted to be on the team and you had to pass those things. And so it wasn't just like, Charlie Brown's teacher, wah, 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 wah. You're really trying to
Learn something.
So I wanted to share with you an example of a time when PTA and the school community council worked together, because I think that can be so powerful.
Yeah.
We're what can PTA leaders do? What can PTA members do?
Right.
And I think it's really working together. So one thing, when I was PTA president, we noticed that our goals at our school were focused on reading, and as they should have been. Like, our reading scores weren't very good, but our math scores were also not good, but that wasn't our goal. That wasn't part of our goals that year. And my daughter had a really hard class, and they learned like absolutely nothing in math. Like, their class was very difficult, and
like behaviors.
behavior wise, yes, they were, oh, bless their souls. But I just was like worried that, you know, now like they're so behind in math, and I was like, well, how can we combat this? And especially because when we were in our community council meetings, we were looking at the math scores and watching them drastically drop, and I'm like, what can we do? What can PTA do to help with
Make
this
a
effort?
difference.
You know, what can we do to work together? And I had asked if there was like some sort of curriculum that like an aide could come in and teach without having to like know the math, you know, like they didn't have to go to school to be a math teacher, because we had a reading curriculum like that. Like we had the aides come in and they could figure it out, and my principal was like, okay, well, I will look for a curriculum, we'll put school land trust money aside, if you can help find volunteers, and we'll do like a morning program and hopefully get some.
So the PTA found volunteers so they didn't have to pay.
Yeah, and we said we want to do it in the morning and get some dads involved, because usually dads can come and do it before they go to work. And unfortunately, we couldn't find it that first year, but they allotted that money again the second year. And then they finally found the perfect curriculum this last school year. And they did have enough money that the aides could actually run it, so they could run that tier 3 intervention during school for all the kids that needed it. But I don't know, like, I mean, I'm sure they would have thought to do it eventually, but I think it was because we were working together and being like, look, we'll help you in this
Do
goal.
these things, that's perfect.
You know, and I love
and
that so
often,
much.
and depending on the school, because some school community councils, they have an election and not everybody that runs gets on the school.
Yeah, totally.
But the meetings are always open, so you can attend the
anybody
meetings.
can go, you just can't vote.
That's an open meeting, yeah.
And so
And all their minutes
that's
should be
nice.
posted on the school's website, and
Yeah. And I mean, and the agenda gets posted a week before and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
So yeah, that's great to collaborate together and do those things.
I think that's like where that real power of PTA comes from. You know, like that's how you go past like the dessert and punch PTA.
I know.
Which is great too. I love that part too.
But we're
Punch and
advocating,
cookies,
we're
go
advocating
advocating.
to make sure those funds go to the schools
Yeah.
and make sure that they stay with the schools. And I think that's what's important, and to let these local leaders know that they have a voice and they can advocate for these trust land funds in their community, in their schools, by being part of the school community council and working on PTA and being aware of that. And I think that's what's important, that we need to let these local leaders know, hey, you have a voice.
Well, and
you can make a
parents,
difference.
And there are parents that aren't on the community council, but they have ideas, like ideas for safety at the school. And
Yeah.
I've seen them adopted at 2 different schools, that they change things, and just by voicing, you know, coming and saying, I want this. And so the community council kind of, well, actually, in both cases, the school district accommodated them, but it gave
Yeah.
them a voice where people were listening instead of just being kind of the naggy mom that complains, and it just like, okay, thank you very much.
But there's power. One person can't do a lot, but there's power in a group of parents to make a difference, and they can serve on the school community council, they can serve on PTA and work together. So I think that's important to know. But most important is we need to keep being the watchdog for these trust lands, and not just say, oh yeah, everything's fine.
We want to, yes. I mean, and our ultimate goal is to have the trust lands pay for all of our public education.
Yeah.
That would be great. Then they don't, you know, if we really had a big enough fund for that. And hopefully that will happen.
But so any concerns? I mean, we got to still continue. You said there's 3 bills to watch.
There's 3 bills.
And they can find out about that online.
Well, during the session, they can follow the PTA, because we'll be following those bills.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. I mean, some things, I don't know that SITLA really takes a position on a lot of bills
Probably can.
and
yeah.
stuff. I don't know how much they can, so they're not going to be posted on theirs, but we'll try to keep people informed and try to send it down. I mean, there's PTA takes stands on lots of bills, and we will probably take one. There's a big one because the advocacy office is actually, it's a big bill that is going through, and that was heard in the interim committee meeting last week, and it will be voted on hopefully in the November.
Okay.
And it's division. I can't remember the name of the committee. It's Natural Resources.
There's a lot of
Interim
committee names.
I know.
So if they have questions, can they reach out to you?
Oh yes, they can reach out to me.
What's
And
your
I'll
email?
tell- My email is trustlands@utahpta.org or Sherry, SHERI, at utahpta.org. That's an old one, but I use that one probably more.
So they can reach out to you if they have questions or concerns.
Right, and
on
if
how-
they have, and if they hear something coming down the pike that I've missed,
Okay.
I'm hoping I won't miss anything because I go to a lot of meetings. But
It's good that, to be aware.
right,
And then they can also belong to the Voter Voice Action Alert. And they can get that information so they can reach out to their legislators.
yes, and I would say get to know who your legislators are and let them know who you are, that you
Okay.
care about education issues, and then they'll know you. When they see you, they know you. And a lot of times they have town hall meetings that you can go to that they talk about what's going on.
And
stuff.
Sherry, do you have a committee?
Yes. I'm not sure exactly how. It wasn't part of the other sign-up committees, but if people are interested in being on my committee, they can contact me. And we already said my email, Sherry at Utah PTA or trustlands@utahpta.org. Both of them
And
are.
they would be on your committee and they would.
Yes, well, they could probably come to the meetings or hopefully they're from different places and maybe they know their legislators. And so if they have, honestly, if you have a personal relationship with your legislator, they listen to you more than when I contact him.
Yeah, totally.
Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not, if I'm not their constituent, the ones that I am their constituent, yeah, they already know
when
me.
people really understand the trust lands, that, they want to get involved.
Yes, that's a big deal, and they love that
that
we can make a difference in our
Yeah.
school. I mean, and we get to decide for our school. That's what's so beautiful. Utah is like the poster child for trust lands as far as the distributing the funds and that people get the local voice. There, lots of other states look to Utah because they have such a good
For
model of
example,
trust lands.
that's awesome.
I love it.
Well, thank you for what you do and to continue working with Trust Lands. Anything else you wanted to share?
No, I
Okay.
don't know without looking through. Okay, yeah, follow PTA. Hang on, let me look through. I made lots of notes, so I wanted to make sure. I guess I want to say that what you need to tell is that they're not just acres of land or lines on a balance sheet. They represent the promise of when Utah became a state, Congress set those lands aside to support our public schools forever. And every dollar that comes from them is part of that original promise to our children. And they need to honor the trust. We need to encourage our legislators to honor that trust because it is trust and they do have a fiduciary duty to our school kids. And they need to be, part of it is future school kids, but the current school kids need have that promise as well. And so they need to
That's
do
impactful.
it. And so they need to what?
That's impactful right there. What you just said was impactful.
Well,
that
and they
honor
need
that.
to protect it and don't redirect it to other issues. They
Yeah.
need to
I
protect
love
it for
that.
school
Protect
kids.
it and don't redirect.
No, and that's true because even the child today needs that money for education compared
They
to
don't
the
need
child
to save it. I mean,
for future children are,
our children today are as important as the
Yeah.
children
and that
of the
goes right
future.
along with the Utah PTA mission.
Right.
To make every child's
Child's
potential a
potential.
reality. And that's what we're doing right there with the trust lands.
So I have to say I am excited about all the school trust lands and all the things that can do and all the moving pieces. And amazed. Well, they've done a good job in 30 years, so let's hope that in another 30 years it's more than, I mean, it can grow exponentially.
It's grown tremendously. So
And so let's hope, and we would hope that in the future that they're managed well and that they can provide. I mean, that would be nice to have the trust lands really support public education like they were designed to do initially. Yeah.
Well, thank you for representing Utah PTA, and I know you attend a lot of meetings and represent Utah PTA in the local schools, so thank you for what you do, and thank you for being here and talking to us. And we want to do a big shout out to Mike Williams, Director of Communications for Utah PTA, for producing these great episodes. And guess what, Sherry? You get a dance. Did we tell you that?
No.
Okay, now you get a dance.